Sometimes you'll see a water change with filters remaining on and still running, and sometimes you'll see a water change with the filters off, no flow at all. So what's the right way? What's the difference? Should you leave them on during a water change? Should you turn them off during a water change? Not only am I going to show you the what I do with my filters, but we're also going to talk about the why. You ready? Let's go. I've gotten asked this question so much on my Instagram and TikTok stories that the inspiration for this video was born. And as usual, I'm not gonna mess around with a bunch of fluff. We're gonna get straight to it. The reason to leave your filters on is to, one, continue to supply oxygen to the tank through the surface agitation, and two, so you don't have to mess with your filters at all. The reason to turn it off is to avoid a siphon break inside your hoses, which upon restart could potentially cause a nasty dirt cloud of junk and gunk back into your water right after you just filled it with fresh, clean water. Don't worry, if you stick around, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about and how to avoid it. First, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kev, and here on KaveMan Aquatics, I try to make helpful, straight to the point videos where education can meet inspiration for the love of aquariums. Feel free to subscribe. Before I show you exactly how I do my water changes, I need to leave a little disclaimer for the keyboard warriors out there that this is how I do my water changes. By no means am I saying this is how it must be done, this is how it should be done, that there's no other way to do water changes. Not at all. I'm just showing what I do. Okay? Peace? Let me start with a bit of context. I do very big 80% water changes weekly on my tanks because that's what benefits my tanks and fish. I won't get into the reasons why in this video, but if you really want to know the benefits of big water changes, you can watch this video in the top right hand corner, and there will also be a link in the description. So because I do big water changes is why at some point I do turn my filters off. We'll get there in a second. I start off by draining my tank and leaving the filters on as it drains. I do this because I want to supply as much surface agitation as possible so the tank can have as much oxygen as possible for the fish. While draining this tank with my pump can be fairly quick, refilling about 170-ish gallons of water back into a 210-gallon tank can take some time. Also, I usually do water changes on all my tanks at the same time, so I might still be filling one tank while the other tank is already drained down to 20%. I want these guys sitting and waiting in an oxygen-rich environment, if you follow my drift. So that's why I leave my filters on as long as possible. But at some point, I do have to turn my filter off, and that point is right here. When the water level is about to drop below my filter intake. And this leads me to my why. If you allow your filter intake to become emerged, meaning not submerged, then you're gonna break the siphon inside your hoses, inside your filter. What happens when you do that is when you go to restart the filter, it's gotta kind of prime itself again. It's got to fill up again while also purging all of the air that you just let into it through your filter intake. If any of you have experience, you know it's kind of a headache when you restart your filter and it's kind of struggling, kind of gargling up at the output, trying to fill itself up and release the air that's trapped inside of it, and you don't know what to do with your filter. I've been there. Sometimes if you shake the filter, you can feel how light it is because it doesn't have any water in it at all. Now, if this does happen to you, I got an easy fix for you right up here in this video. It'll also be in the description below. But we want to avoid this problem altogether. This is why we want to avoid this situation altogether, because what happens after you're done fixing the gurgling, struggling problem is you get a tank that looks like this, right after filling it up with new, fresh, clean water. A huge dirt cloud of trapped crap that was inside your filter and hoses got free during the refill and is now spitting it back out into your water column, causing you to freak out. I know. This isn't gonna spike your ammonia or nitrates or anything like that. Remember, all of these particles were already in your system. They were just trapped in your mechanical media inside the filter, and they just got released out into your water column. Now they'll get retrapped again, and nothing will change in your system except for the nitrates that you just removed from doing your water change. Now, I know that after a water change, looking at your tank like this really sucks, but don't worry, it's not the end of the world. This isn't gonna harm your fish in any way, and after a short period of time, your filters are gonna scoop this all right back up, trap it into the filter where it belongs, remove it from your water column, and you'll be back to clear water in no time. I'll show you exactly what this tank looks like before the end of recording this video. But the potential for this right here happening to you is the reason why you would want to turn off your filters when you do a big water change. With that being said, I should also say that if you don't do big water changes, let's say you only do 10 or 20% water changes and the water level never drops below your filter intakes, then you don't have to do any of this at all. You can leave your filters on and running the whole time, never have to deal with it, and your fish are gonna love the little rainstorm that they just received. So do yourself a favor. If your water change amount is going to drop the water level below your filter intake, then simply close the intake valve on your filter before that happens, and then unplug the power from your filter. Before we get into that, let me take 10 seconds to ask you to take 1 second to hit that like button if you're enjoying the video and or finding it helpful. It's the best way for YouTube to know what kind of videos you like, and they'll show you more of the same, preferably more of my own. Moving right along. Now, if your water change process is fairly quick and you could get the water level to rise past that intake in a short amount of time, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, then you don't even have to power the filter off at all. Just close the intake valve before the intake itself is emerged, and during refill, wait for the water level to rise past the filter intake, then just open your intake valve. You're good to go. But if you know it may take some time to refill, like in my case, you don't want that filter motor on, running and struggling the whole time with the intake valve closed. In your case, unplug that power. During refill, keep in mind, you don't have to wait for the entire tank to fill back up before restarting your filter. All you need to do is wait for the water line to rise past the filter intake, then you can start it back up. Now, there's a method to powering back up as well. You want to do it in the reverse order. First, open your intake valve to release that trapped siphon through your hose and in through your filter. You may even hear some gurgling sounds as the filter starts to fill back up again. Then, once that gurgling sound is over, you plug it back in. This will restart your filter as if it was never turned off at all. No dirt cloud, no muss, no fuss. I'm pretty sure at some point in this video, you asked yourself why I keep my intakes behind my 3D background. The obvious answer is I want to hide my equipment. I don't want to see any of that stuff. But how well does it really work back there? I got the answer for you right here. You could also check out my new aquarium keeping app called Aquabuildr. It's been getting excellent reviews, and the in-house development team is coming up with new functions and features every day. Check that one out right there. Before you go, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace. Hey, look how much clearer it got already. Told ya.